Hello and welcome to our UFC 322 post-fight show. I'm Ariel Helwani. It is approximately 1:02 a.m. Eastern Time, Sunday, November 16th, and there is a brand new UFC welterweight champion. History made once again at the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden, the Mecca, and can't help but feel like 9 years after the UFC made its debut at MSG with a scene which featured Conor McGregor on top of the cage holding two titles. In that particular story, it was the featherweight and lightweight title. We saw 9 years later the evolution of that. This time it's Islam Makhachev holding up the brand new welterweight title that he just won, and the lightweight title that he vacated earlier this summer. He is the new UFC welterweight champion. He just thoroughly dominated Jack Della Maddalena. It was never really close. It was somewhat reminiscent. If you didn't watch the fight and you want to know just how dominant it was somewhat reminiscent of the Khamzat Chimaev Dricus du Plessis fight, which we saw back in August. The fight, each round starts standing. Shortly thereafter, there's a takedown, and Jack Della was just never able to get up. He was never able to do much on the ground. Towards the end of the fight, he looked defeated. He looked distraught. He looked deflated. His calf was messed up. Not to suggest that Islam didn't hit him with some shots standing, but it just was one-way traffic throughout. He is just so strong. He is so good. He is so dominant. He is so talented. And now he becomes just the 11th fighter in UFC history to win a belt in two different weight classes. He is also the man who has just won his 16th fight in a row, and in doing so ties the great Anderson Silva for the longest winning streak in UFC history. So all kinds of history made tonight at Madison Square Garden. He is the pound for pound best in the world. There is no denying that, and is slowly but surely going down as one of the greatest ever. And in my opinion, has put his mentor, Khabib Nurmagomedov, with this victory very much in the rearview mirror. He has surpassed him. If he had not done so already, Islam Makhachev is that guy. And now the welterweights, which we'll be talking about a lot on this here program, have a new problem to figure out, because this is going to be a very tricky puzzle. Okay, it's not just me on these post shows. As you know, we've got 3Pac here. We've got the man in the hat, a.k.a. the mayor of the Nutmeg State, here with us, the one and only Chuck Mindenhall. Chuck, how are you?
I am well. We started off with a lot of knockouts, and then we just watched 10 rounds of dominance. What a
Yes.
card.
Yes, and of course you are referring to what transpired in the co-main event. Zhang Weili, unsuccessful in her attempt to become a double champion. She got thoroughly dominated by Valentina Shevchenko. In that particular case, the bigger champion proved that size does matter. And that one as well was not very, dare I say, intriguing, entertaining. It was one-way traffic, and it was just Valentina reminding us that she is still the best at 125, and maybe we need to rethink our pound for pound rankings. Maybe she is the very best in the world as far as the pound for pound rankings are concerned. We'll also say hello to the patron saint of the Emerald Isle. Let's see if he's awake. The host of the critically acclaimed podcast, The Crack. Of course, he's probably staying up because there's a massive football match later today involving his beloved tricolor. We're talking about the Irish. Of course, he is the pride of the Irish, the one and only Pizzi Carroll. Pizzi, good morning.
How are you, lads? Great night for the UFC. I thought brilliant card and a brilliant night for the welterweight division. Two new contenders. I feel the old guard pushes aside and some new charges vying for title contention. Very, very tasty.
Yes, the build guys for this Jack Della Islam fight, there was no real history between them. There was no friction between them. It was somewhat reminiscent, at least to me, when Conor fought Eddie, like there was no story there, but as the fight progressed, as the fight week progressed, like just the two of them and their demeanors and how different they were and the face-offs and whatnot made me feel like this was a massive deal, and it felt like a big deal. And we were all wondering how Islam would look at 170, if the strength, if the power, if the grappling would translate. As the week went on, I think we all thought, okay, he's really comfortable looking at 170. He's looking really good without his shirt in those photos and in the training footage that we saw. And he said it afterwards, Chuck, in the post-fight interview to Joe Rogan. He's like, man, this is a dream. I feel so much better. And it's a scary thought. That's his first fight at 170. Just think how he's going to look after his second and his third. It's really remarkable what this guy is doing. I'm blown away by the performance because I really think the world of Jack Della, who had not, lost in the UFC and was on an incredible winning streak himself, to do that to him is nothing short of amazing. Your initial thoughts?
Exactly that. And I think that, going into that last fight for Jack Della when he was fighting Bilal, I think that some of us were a little bit, concerned that this type of fight might break out if it wanted to, right? Like if Bilal really wanted to commit to wrestling, that this might be the result. I wasn't sure what to expect, to be honest. And I think that was the big intrigue. You go into a fight like this and you have a guy moving up in weight. And we just had watched a fight where, where Zhang goes up a weight class and she can't do anything. So you're like, is this going to happen to Islam? Are we asking too much? Remember back in the day when BJ Penn went up and met George St. Pierre, and it was kind of like it was one-way traffic in a different way. Sometimes it's just a step too far. So I think that doubt just kind of rose up right as they're making their walks for me. And then you see that first takedown, which I think occurred about a minute in, and it was so easy that I was like, this is going to be a problem. Exactly how it played out from that point on, I was like, this is going to be the same Islam, but up a weight. And to hear him be that comfortable in there and just kind of, saying that he feels like he's in his weight class, that is a scary thought. But he's doing it at the exact right moment with the amount of contenders. And some of those guys were showcasing these young guns that are coming up. Dude, it just got so intriguing in my mind, just the style clashes and everything that's about to happen in that division.
PT, initial thoughts from you.
He's just so good. And I expected something like we saw with Islam v. Dustin at 302 in New Jersey. I expected him to have that kind of jeopardy at some stage in the fight, be kind of met with a guy who won't go away. And credit to JDM, I don't think he was intimidated by the task. I think he came out with the right mentality. Very early on, he was trying to put his front foot forward and push Islam back, but he's just too good. The size wasn't a problem, as you said, but as Chuck mentioned, the explosion into the hips for his takedowns was in the blink of an eye. These takedowns were occurring, and you just wonder who was going to stop a guy like this. And I guess that's a nod to how dominant he is. He's obviously made a massive point in his favor for the pound for pound debate. Once again, a lot of people were talking Ilia Topuria, but after watching that kind of dominance, it's really, really hard to argue with anyone other than Islam right now.
Yeah, just some unofficial stats if you guys would like to hear. I'm looking at the stats on the UFC stats site and also on the ESPN Fight Center page where they have the stats that are tabulated in real time, and it says that he was 4-4 of takedowns, but I feel like he landed one takedown every single round. So I think that should be like five. Yeah. Right? I mean, but the crazy thing is,
the fourth off now. Did he take one round off? Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah.
But the thing is, like, there weren't like 13 takedown attempts, a la
right,
Marab and Corey. It was one, and the one was all that he needed. Yeah. Yeah. According to these unofficial stats, total strikes landed 140 of 188 for Islam, just 30 of 74 for Jack. Oof. Jack just really couldn't get going, and
what was the time of control? That's
oh
the
yeah,
stat, right?
It was well over 18 minutes. It's 1910. So 1910 of a 25-minute fight. Like it was just, and he was going for submissions. He was doing things. Jack even hit him with an illegal shot at the end of the first. If I'm the rule maker,
fair play. I saw the tweet.
That's a point deduction. But you got the warning from Herb Dean there, but it's just amazing to see him that strong at 170. I really thought that he would have a little bit of trouble. Like I'm saying, back in May when this was first announced, I thought he would have a little bit of trouble. These guys at one, I mean, just look at Michael Morales. Look at how big that guy is, and he looks like a 205 pounder. And we'll get to him in a moment, but he showed no signs of slowing down. There's a litany of guys that I would love to see him fight at 170, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I'd still love to see him fight Ilia Topuria. I just feel like now this result has made the gap between the two of them that much bigger, Chuck.
It has. You know what, man? Pizza, you were mentioning like how quickly he got into the hips and just how quickly things went to the ground. Do you notice like when he's fighting, and especially maybe it's just something I haven't paid close attention to, but in this fight particularly, in the southpaw stance where he's basically kind of crouched down, there's almost no difference in the telegraphing of him throwing a punch or a combination or like kind of lunging in for some offense that way, or him just going into those hips and taking you to the ground. It would be a nightmare. As I was watching him through this fight, it would be a nightmare trying to predict what he's going to do. You know what I mean? Like he just
Yeah.
how quickly he masks what he's going to do so well that by the time so if you come up, he's on your hips and boom, you're on the ground. It's got to be one of the most helpless feelings. This type of fight, we talk so many times about what makes a classic fight. Well, it's like the plot twists that happen. The crowd thinks one thing's happening, something else happens. The heart shows up. When you see this kind of fight, it's a transcendent in a different way. You know what I mean? Like where you have a guy who's that good, Jack Della Maddalena, who's been that good, who can't do anything against this guy. That's it's like a transcendent kind of way of seeing something. And if it doesn't speak volumes, especially when you're coming up 15 pounds like that, for how good he is, like you mentioned, Ariel, like I was on the fence about does he pass Habib? Does he catch him? I'm with you. I think that he's in his own lane now. This is his show. He's one of one now, right? Like he's just his own guy. Like, yeah, I mean, like to me, I needed to see this in a weird way for me to just kind of anoint him that, but it's just going to be a nightmare for just about anybody he faces. You mentioned some of the monsters in the division. That it is very intriguing, but man, he is going to be a handful. If he can mask his takedowns and his offense so well like that, it's just going to be a nightmare for everybody, even watching film.
To that point about Islam though and Habib, different striker completely, right? Like the things we were seeing from tonight with the leg kicks, it wasn't as if we kind of had in our heads if JDM is a passage of this on the feet, he's going to do some real damage. That wasn't really what we saw in there either today. I thought Islam did a very good job on the feet. I thought JDM kind of got involved early on, but after that first takedown, it just changed everything. The threat of it was there, and it allowed Islam to strike, and I think at a much higher level than we ever saw Habib strike at.
The way he changes levels, the quickness in which he kind of just like lulls you into this striking battle, and then boom, and you're like, wow, and you can just feel how deflated Jack was every single time. He's like a boa constrictor. It's unbelievable. And Hamza does a similar thing. I would say he's a lot more advanced as far as the striking is concerned. So you really do have to worry about it. We were talking to Tim Welch about it earlier in the week. He knows exactly the kind of striker that he is. So he'll never go crazy. He'll never try to do flashy things. He won't do a lot of spinning stuff or flying knees or things like that. But he is going to be very, 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 very effective, very smart, very ones and twos, things like that, but you have to respect it, and then he'll change levels and take you down, and that's all she wrote. It's really amazing to watch, and then you see the strength. The strength on the ground is unbelievable, and for that strength to translate now at 170 is amazing. And to me, like I always felt like he was, the younger brother, so to speak, to Khabib, and didn't quite have like the mic skills, didn't quite have the personality, but it feels like especially this week he's come into his own. Over time, he's come into his own, and he's really developed his own identity. He's developed his own fan base, his own following. And now to do this, I mean, look at the names that he has now. He has now joined. He joins Randy Couture, B.J. Penn, Conor McGregor, George St. Pierre, Daniel Cormier, Amanda Nunes, Henry Cejudo, John Jones, Alex Pereira, and of course Ilya Topuria. Like that is a who's who, and to do it like he was that dominant for that long at 155, broke the record for most consecutive lightweight title defenses before moving up, and now to do this in his welterweight debut, it's really nothing. Like there's just not enough nice things. There's not enough, accolades that we can throw his way. You just kind of had to have experienced it.
You mentioned some of these names, and like you think back to Anderson Silva, for instance, or George St. Pierre. Anderson Silva in a 16 fight, a stretch. How many times have we seen Makhachev in trouble? You know what I mean? Like it hasn't happened a lot. I mean, the first Volk fight, right? Like toward the end of that fight, there was some danger. But you look at Anderson Silva, UFC 117, for instance, he's losing the whole fight. And there was examples of maybe like weaknesses. You know what I mean? Where you're like, well, if you get this, if you watch GSP, there were a couple of close, but the Hendricks fight, right? Like, it was one of those ones that you're like, he might have lost that fight, but he got the benefit of the doubt. We haven't really seen that. You know what I mean? Like, through 16 fights, and I think that when you start to get into this historic comparison, speaks volumes too, right? Because I just don't feel like he's in vulnerable spots. We're not seeing him put in vulnerable spots. Nobody's really able to do that yet.
PT, let me ask you a question as we're sitting here, waxing poetic. And by the way, here's an interesting tweet from Ilya Taporia, the aforementioned, that just came through. Jack needs an entire camp dedicated just to wrestling. What a disappointment of a champion. You should go to Georgia to learn something. Islam, you need something you can't train. Emotion. You're the most boring thing in this game. Every day I'm more certain I put you to sleep. Again, there's a litany of new guys waiting for him at 170. This is really the one that interests me the most, the history, the beef there. But I don't know if Ilya moves up to 170. But I read the tweet, and I'm reading the chat right now, and I'm reading some things on Twitter. There's nothing you could say about his skill. There's nothing you could say about the dominance and all that stuff. But it is sports entertainment, right? It is a business. And Khamzat got a lot of crap. And I don't know if he's getting the same kind of crap right now. I haven't really, read enough. But those two title fights were arguably the least entertaining of the entire card, right? That's not what the UFC wants. That's not how they want to, crescendo the evening. And so, Pizzi, is there an issue here? Is there something to be worried about? Or is this just the game, when you have these dominant champions and eventually someone comes along and knocks them off?
Well, look, we were a bit longer in the tooth, lads. We were in the business of this sport in times where there wasn't such an emphasis put on the spectacular, I don't think. I mean, when you look at Contender Series now, the way they do it with the fighters, they want knockouts, they want submissions. We saw Martin Boudet with a winning record at heavyweight, a division that needs fighters, being taken off the roster because he wasn't spectacular. That is an issue for the UFC if that's what their product is. Even when we speak about problems with the sport and knowing that things won't change because it might affect the product, even with you talking about disqualifications and things like that, I always think about how will Dana feel about that in the event that there was many disqualifications on a card. I think it's the same thing with this. This isn't exactly what Dana White wants to put together. You look at even Slap. Slap is a response to social media. It's like little 10-second clips. That's what they were trying to make out of this. And as far as they've told us, it's a huge success. So I think, even though I love the sport, I'm happy to see people prevail with this style of fighting, even though it's not the most entertaining. That's not what the UFC claims to be anymore. It claims to be a spectacle-driven entertainment product more so than just a meritocracy and a sport. So as far as they're concerned, I think it is a problem, and that it doesn't really matter how I feel about that.
Yeah, although on the flip side, you had Madison Square Garden in New York City with a very loud and audible Islam chant.
Yeah.
So we have come a very, very long way as far as who the fan favorites are.
I mean, do you think, Ariel, like you yourself, like you're watching a fight like this, especially for a guy? I mean, are we going to say like he's some kind of like, well, he doesn't put guys away? The guy had what I think it was like 8 of 9 guys he had finished before this. So it's like to kind of feel like that there's a problem because he didn't do it in this first fight at welterweight seems an extreme to me.
No, I don't think it's a problem at all. The same way I didn't think it was a problem with Khamzat. If it's working, like they were talking about Khabib in the corner, and he's like, enough of the boxing. Like, let's just win the fight. There's too much at stake here to take these risks at some point, especially when you are doing, you're risking something against a guy who is better at that thing than you, if that makes sense. So if you stay standing against Jack Della, that's exactly what he wants, and ultimately it's about W's and L's. So I don't think it's a problem. It's not like 10 of these in a row. Like I think a lot more fans would say it's a bit of a problem with Shevchenko. I think some fans would say that there's not a lot of wars there. It's just a lot of dominance. But I've never really been in the business of being like, oh, this guy's boring. And again, I'm not the one buying tickets. I'm not the one buying pay-per-views necessarily as a fan for entertainment. I've always been in the camp of like, figure it out. That's just the game. Tim Duncan was kind of boring, but he won. Just figure it out. And they shouldn't have to change their style. You should have to figure out how to beat their style. The question though is And the reason why I think the UFC kept, its options open, I think they want to come up with, all right, who's the best opponent for him, right? Who's the best challenge for him? If it's not going to be Topuria, I still think that they will consider that after Topuria has another fight at 55, and I think the fight should be Paddy Pimblett at the beginning of the year. That remains to be seen. But and usually we don't do this way, guys, but it's all sort of connected. At the beginning of the pay-per-view card, we had Carlos Prates knock out Leon Edwards. First guy to ever knock out Leon Edwards, first knockout loss in Leon's career. Carlos Prates all the way back. He gets the spinning back elbow knockout in August against Jeff Neal. First guy to ever stop Jeff Neal. And now he does this to Leon Edwards. Holy shit. And this guy's got superstardom. He's got aura, as the kids say. He's got a great personality. He's very fun, all this stuff and more. Then you've got Michael Morales fighting Sean Brady, and he stops him with a beautiful finish as well. And he's got that same aura. He's got that same personality. He looks like a superstar as well. And so, Chuck, I'll ask you first, did the number one contender emerge there? Because, oh, by the way, there's Shavkat Rakhmonov, who still hasn't fought in about a year now. It's going to be almost a year, who tweeted, "Congratulations to Islam, excellent performance, but the real challenge at 170 is still me." And oh, by the way, the guy that he beat in his last fight, Ian Gary, has a fight next week against the former champion, Bilal Muhammad. So maybe we don't know the answer to this question, but do you think, based on what we saw tonight from those other two superstars in the making, a new contender has emerged, or is the jury still out?
I think you 100%, like, both those guys came through with flying colors. I mean, they could give it to either one of those guys, especially if you were one of these people who considered Sean Brady already qualified for the title, right? He gets taken out by this 26-year-old phenom. If that's not punching your ticket right to a title shot, I don't know what it is. The only problem is, I feel like Ian Gary, and I was mentioning this to Pizzi on the Crack on Friday, it's just he's kind of done the favors, and I think he also has like the name who's been around for a while, this guy who will fight anybody type thing. If he's able to go in there and do that to Bilal Muhammad, which is very difficult to do, by the way, to make Bilal look silly in that way, but if he goes in there and does that, I still think he probably has the inside track to this, even though, because for one thing, Morales is just kind of, this was kind of like an expedited thing, right? Like a meteor. All of a sudden he's fighting the number 2 guy. Boom, he gets through it. It's a big stage, but you could still push him off for just a minute. And I don't because Prates lost to Ian Gary. I feel like, if you're just kind of weighing it out, I think that Ian Gary would be the guy. So in my mind, if he's able to win that fight, and especially if he makes it look good next week, I think he's still the guy.
What do you think, PT?
I think Morales is the number 1 seed right now. I think we just talked about it seconds ago. What is the UFC's product? It's spectacle. And Ian Gary has had some great KOs in the UFC, but none on that level. Prates, he beat Leon Edwards, who Sean Brady already beat, to put himself in the spot, which we believed made him the number 1 contender. Morales knocked him out in the first round. You know what I mean? This is Highlander, lads. You're taking their wins with you. You take their head and you take their legacy with you when you beat them. And Morales right now is a giant. He's a knockout artist. He was an underdog against Brady, and he's put him away. He's put away a lot of guys. If you're looking for what is the response to someone like Islam Makhachev, I don't think there is one. Honestly, I look at all these guys and I think they have serious trouble on their hands against Islam. But if I was looking for a guy that would cause him a problem, I would look for a big, huge dude who hits like a horse, and that is Michael Morales right now.
He's just so young. He's just so young. We'll get to him in a moment, but he's just so young. He does have the judo background, which I think the judo background could be interesting against Islam. I do want to see what happens with Ian. I think if Ian does something spectacular, he could usurp them. If he wins via decision, like, there's no chance.
He needs spectacle, right? He needs a massive statement. Like he needs to put Bilal away, I think.
Yeah.
Which he says
but do
he
you
will.
think, I mean, I feel like they could still build Morales though more. Like, it just feels,
it feels like he just got here.
He just got here. So it's like, it feels like I don't want to say you're burning one of your best cards, but like, just throw him in there. But don't you kind of want to see more of that first?
Okay, let me tell you.
I want to see more of that.
Like, it would be an absolute travesty, in my opinion, if Kamaru Usman gets this next title shot. I mean,
Oh,
I'm
God.
sorry. You have one win over Joaquin Buckley. I mean, I'm sorry. These guys are out there killing. Sean Brady, my heart breaks for Sean Brady. Sean
Oh,
Brady
it's
should have been
horrific.
fighting for the belt
That's
next.
rough.
Sean Brady should have fought for the belt tonight, or he should have gotten his next fight should have been for the belt. And this guy has to fight Michael Morales in like a total lose-lose fight because Morales is not a household name, but you see Brady next to him and it looks like a 205er against a 155er. And you saw what happened. Like Brady is tough as hell. Look how good he looked. Who'd have thought back in March when he's completely mauling Leon, 8 months later they're both on the losing end of insane knockouts against these guys. Like it's cruel. It's cruel what happened to him, but he took the fight and no one put a gun to his head, but I don't think he had many choices. If they go with Kamaru Usman, who has zero momentum whatsoever, who has one win against Joaquin Buckley, when all these guys are doing this stuff for like give me Prates, give me Morales, give me Ian coming off a decision win over Bilal, and give me Shavkat, who hasn't fought in a year over that Usman fight. I'm sorry. That would be disgusting if Kamaru Usman somehow gets a title shot next. And the only reason it would happen, in my opinion, is because they're both managed by the same guy and there's some sort of, agreement made there, because I can't think of any other reason other than he was once a champion many moons ago. Like, come on, what are we doing?
And this was all lined up a long time ago, because if you went back a few months and you listened to, after the Joaquin Buckley fight, Usman started talking about this. My next fight is going to be for the title. There's no way that, you know what I mean, that this wasn't discussed and there's some strategy here. I completely agree with you. I even wrote an article about it this week ahead of the fight because I said it took so much momentum away from what we were going to witness tonight. And honestly, I think this speaks for itself. What Prates and what Morales did tonight speaks for itself. This is a sport, whether we like it or not, which is rife with recency bias. And when lads go in and do stuff like that, it's impossible that it's going to be overlooked. Ian Gary has a great opportunity.
How could you even justify it? It would be
no. They could. I could see them doing it. You guys can't see them doing it.
I can see them trying to. I can see myself writing a column as to saying like that's bullshit. If they
Dana just was on their show showing him and Cejudo his vast shoe collection, as you can see, like the tears rolling down their face. And what does he say? He sets it up. He plants a seed. He says that he's the greatest welterweight champion of all time. He's literally planting the seed for some bizarre reason. It makes no sense. You know what makes the sport even crueler? Like there's a world where Ian Gary wins via decision or even stumbles and loses a decision to Bilal Muhammad, and Carlos Prates fights for the belt next. That win in April meant absolutely nothing. That's how crazy this thing is. Like it's all about timing.
But same with Shavkat, right? Shavkat and Ian. Ian goes, wins, beats Bilal. He'll get put in.
He had some bad luck. He had the injury. But yes, I mean, like, could you have imagined in April when Ian was thoroughly dominating Carlos Prates that 7 months later Carlos would be above Ian in the pecking order? Makes no sense.
Weird, man.
It's all about spectacle. That's the currency. That is the currency of this.
Can I ask you guys, like, if you we just named all these guys, if you had to pick one that would be the biggest challenge for Islam now, seeing what he's able to do at 170, who would it be?
Morales.
Yeah,
he's just such an unknown.
Yeah.
You don't think Ian gives him a tough?
I think Ian,
tough challenge.
Ian does. He's very tall as well, but he doesn't. He's not the same size. He's not as thick as Morales is. Like he looks like he shouldn't be in the weight division. Like Morales looks ridiculous.
He's crazy.
As a welterweight, you know what I mean? Ian is still slight. He's very quick. We've seen him talk about the fact that he doesn't cut a lot of weight. That's part of his strategy, and it works for his fighting style. It's just when you see that explosion in the hips, you think that being as big as you possibly can be will help you a lot in that regard, or at least it's something, right? I don't think he'd like. Chuck? I mean. Sorry, go ahead.
There's a part of me that's like, I was like, just sticking to what you say early on. I mean, I was saying that Shavkat would probably be the biggest challenge in the division. I don't know if I would change that yet. I still think that would be a very interesting fight, but man, it's always based on new information. And I do agree with you guys, like seeing the size of Morales and just his sniper ability, man, like how good he is and how hard he hits. It's a toughie, man. But I would say it's between those two guys.
Would you say the biggest fight though is Islam versus Ilya?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, gotta be
of all the options, right?
Yeah. Unless he wants to
That's gotta be
fight Hamza, but we're not quite there yet.
Oh man,
No, he's not going back down to 155. The problem with Shavkat is by the time the fight happens, he will have been out for a year and a half, coming off major surgery. That's just a tough fight to come back to. Chuck, earlier you asked me about the control time. I wanted to read this to you. So Islam Makhachev's 19 minutes and 10 seconds of control time is the second most ever logged in a UFC welterweight title fight. George St. Pierre had 2031 in a particular title fight. They don't say which one, and is the 8th most ever in a UFC title fight.
Maybe Hardy. Maybe Hardy.
Yeah.
It seemed like that one was on the ground the whole time. In New Jersey, right across the river.
Yes, sir. UFC 111. To do that in his welterweight debut is nothing short of amazing. Let's zero in a little bit more on the Morales thing. Pizzi, man, what is this guy? This guy, like, first of all, did you guys see those photos of him dressed up as Spider-Man earlier in the week? Like,
yeah,
he looks
man. He's
his mom. I love the fact that his mom was still there. Like, we saw her at the Apex. Like, you got to see the evolution of his stardom. Like, you see her at the Apex a few fights ago when there's 6 people there, and now she's in New York City in the Big Apple, Madison Square Garden, and he finds her, and they find her. Like, it was just
he looks
a really
like CGI
cool
here.
He
looks like CGI. Like, this guy is, he looks like a movie star. He is young. He is undefeated. He's a knockout artist. He has a very, very, very likable fighting style. Like, this guy, he's been shot out of a cannon. And to your point earlier, both of you guys have said, like, do we need to rush this guy into a title fight? No, we don't. And maybe it's better to have an Ian Gary who's been in against Shavkat. If he gets through Bilal, maybe it's better to push him into that spot. I certainly wouldn't mind that, seeing a fellow Irishman in that spot. So then it actually gives you something to do with Usman as well, right? Like, you want to see this guy tested, put him in against Usman. We saw what Usman did to Joaquin Buckley. Maybe that's the way to do it, but I can't wait to see this dude fight again. And it's different than Prates, because Ian Gary showed us a blueprint to beat Prates to some degree. And I think Leon Edwards tried to use that in the first round of the fight, which I thought he won tonight. But obviously Prates leveled him after that. We haven't seen this guy lose. We haven't really seen him in a bad spot. I know he's gone the distance a few times, but I can't remember ever watching him fight and being like, oh, I think he's in trouble here. He's also got this reckless abandon that you only have as a young fighter who's undefeated. You know, like, you saw it there tonight. He couldn't really find his right hand for a little bit in that fight, and you could see him getting frustrated. He just started throwing it around like it was a bat. Like, here, this is going to hit you eventually, and it was terrifying. And in the end, he clocked him, and it did the job. And he is a huge prospect. He is very exciting. And I think it's a reasonable thing to say. Like, do the UFC protect their interest in this guy for further down the line? Because I think he's going to be here for a long time. Regardless of if he lost against Islam right now, I think a dude this young, this talented is going to be in contendership for a long time. I just don't know how long he can be a welterweight. That's my only issue.
Chuck, you know what I really want to see? I want to see him versus Prates. Like,
that's what
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the one.
I mean, because you get both of them, right? They both go in there, they snipe these guys back to back, and you're like, oh my God, these are in the same weight class. You could pair these guys. Would they do that though? I mean, I was thinking about this and I'm like, would they actually go do that type of thing when you get
killing one off?
Two of the coolest dudes.
I mean, they used to not do this as often, but maybe they don't think. I mean,
they did it with
anymore.
Ian Gary and Carlos Prates.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That is true. Yeah,
and
on short notice.
And Ian and Shavkat as well. They did. Yeah, you know, they were.
Yeah,
Morales versus Prates.
That would
Gary
be a hell
wins
of a fight,
next
man.
week. Do the Shavkat rematch. Let's settle that one, and then Islam versus Ilya.
But they're not going to do Islam. We have to stop pretending this.
I know.
There's no way Islam is going to get down to 155 again. See the fucking size.
No. Ilya to 170.
Dude, that'd be a hell of a thing too, man.
But that's come on.
It's just
what are we doing with these divisions at this
It's just right there. It's just right there.
You want what we never got.
Too good.
No, I don't think that's a good idea. I think it doesn't make as much sense. It doesn't fit properly. It fit better.
I think we plug in Usman. We plug in Usman right now. We let
by the way,
play out.
This is why I always said
you want to go with the Usman.
I'm kidding, man. Come on.
Chuck is going.
This is why I said you should have done You should have done Islam and Ilya when they were both in the same weight class for that brief moment, and then we wouldn't have to worry about it again, and they could just move on their merry way. By the way, you do mention Usman, like I was saying that I think it would be a travesty, but is it possible
Makes
that
sense.
Usman is the toughest matchup? Does
We're all
Usman
like,
have
do you know what? Do you know what the best fight he can do now is Usman? That's what they should do. After we thought about it a bit, we're like, you know what? Islam has a
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Poor
I
Usman
mean,
deserves to
the
be in that spot.
wrestling, you know. Um,
Oh,
Bonuses, Prates got one, Morales got one, Benoit Saint Denis, who we haven't talked about yet, and Bo Nickal, who we
Wow,
haven't talked about yet. It was a tremendous night.
dude, this
But
guy.
Islam and Valentina didn't. What about, but man, Chuck, Leon Edwards getting knocked out like that with his eyes open. Like it looked, it was a little sad
Hurts you,
as
doesn't
well.
it?
Like,
Hurts.
yeah, just like the Brady one. It's just this game is so cruel and things move
It,
along so quickly. What did
dudes,
you
we
think
were
when
the
you saw
ones
that?
when we were,
Yes.
we were the ones that the country was calling and calling in and
Yes.
crying about this guy
what a
winning,
picture.
and to see it's always like this, man. You get a guy who loses a fight or two, and he's right there still, and then you see the knockout, the first time you knock out or something like this. And there's something very tragic to me every time I see it, especially when they're knocked out, and you see them on the ground like that. You're just like, man,
Awful.
because it's just this is it happened. Like it's going to happen eventually for most of these guys. Like it's going to be the moment. I felt like that was Leon's moment where the whole thing became fleeting for him again. Like it's just it was an ugly thing. And I agree with Pizzi, man. I thought his game plan going in, it looked like it was going to be his fight. It looked like Leon was gonna
First
like
round was
show up and
great, right? First round
yeah,
was
the first
great.
round was great. And I was like,
Perfect
so
way.
I kind of was, I guess that's what made it even more impactful was it felt like it was a complete 180 from the way it started. And you're like, oh man, you just feel bad for the fans and like UK fans. And like, I instantaneously was remembering that night, when he won it all and then to end up in
Oh
that
yeah.
situation.
Yeah, not that long ago, a beautiful left hand from Carlos Prates. After a first round in which I thought Leon won, looked good with the sub attempt and whatnot. Although we showed one of the pictures, and New York Rick has a great tweet of Prates making that face. Like he seemed completely unbothered by it all.
Yeah.
It just like he was just not bothered. This is great stuff from Rick back there. I mean, what a night for Rick. I mean, 4 hours and he's still putting out banger tweets. If I send you this, it means I really don't give a fuck with his face looking completely unbothered by it. But again, this game moves very quickly. Not that long ago in April, people were saying that Carlos Prates wasn't that guy. He comes back in August, gets a big win. Comes back here tonight, gets a big win. People are saying that the fighting nerds are dead. Are the fighting nerds dead, or is it just Carlos Prates who has resurrected them, or is it the fighting nerds are dead and Prates doesn't count? I'm not quite sure what the narrative is now, but I just
He
think that
seems
they're
like he's
fighting.
on his own thing, right? Like he's
Yeah,
part
they're
of
fighting
that, but
tough
it's like
guys.
they're fighting tough guys, but he's also kind of just this rogue figure of this whole thing anyway, because he's like, drinking and smoking and he's just his
Right.
own guy. But
Yeah, you know them
when
well.
you
You
knock
were
guys
embedded
out,
with them.
yeah. But when you're knocking guys out like that, like that's your method of victory and every one of them spectacular. I mean, I suppose you're going to be you're going to distinguish yourself, right, from anything that you're involved with.
Pizzi, let's go back to the co-main. We haven't given Valentina her flowers. I have to say, this one shocked me. Did I think that Valentina could win? Of course. Did I think it would be this dominant and one-sided? Absolutely not. I am actually very, very, very surprised that it played out this way. Some numbers, if you'd like them. Um,
Please.
Valentina 5 of 6 as far as takedowns are concerned, 137 of 186 as far as total strikes. Zhang Weili 80 of 161, 0 for 1 as far as takedowns were concerned. It was one-way traffic, 13 minutes and 24 seconds of control time
Jeez.
for Valentina, 46 seconds for Zhang Weili. Like she was just the bigger, stronger fighter and just imposed her will throughout. Were you as surprised as I was?
Yes, I was. I thought I picked Zhang to win the fight, and she wasn't at it at all. She didn't win a round. Valentina, a person who came in and we kind of saw her as a striker initially when she came into the UFC. To see how well rounded she is, and to see how long she's been doing this. Ben Folks wrote a great piece about the generations of fighters that she has competed through. 23 years fighting, I believe, at this stage. Started when she was 15, still at the top of the game. Looks like nobody can touch her. Um, you know, to see what Manon Fiorot did after she lost to Shevchenko, after Shevchenko beat her, to see how good she can be in this division. And then we have Blanchfield as well tonight doing exactly that. But like, you know, showing how good these are to people who've lost, to people who've lost to Valentina.
Yeah.
And she's just unbelievable. I was saying the other day to the lads, it's like you see the age of Valentina and you're constantly saying it's gonna happen. Like one of these fights we're going to turn on and she just won't be there anymore. And you thought that with Wiley, how great she's been looking, how dominant she. I think a lot of us have her number one pound for pound going into this fight, and obviously she is lighter. But to see what Valentina did to her today is it's unbelievable. And I know it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but with someone who is putting their whole legacy on the line against someone like Zhang, someone who, if Zhang had won that fight, all of us would have been saying she's in the argument for the greatest fighter of all time. That was Valentina defending that. She believes she should be there. She always wanted that third fight with Amanda Nunes, but she's right up there with the greatest of all time. And although it wasn't spectacular, it was incredibly dominant.
Doesn't it seem nuts that she's? Sorry, I was going to say it doesn't seem nuts that she. Her amount of control, like you mentioned the control time, but like doesn't it just she was just known mostly as a kickboxer and
Yes.
you know, more of that when she was coming up, and especially through even the early UFC and all that stuff. For her to be winning fights like this, where she's just kind of like just dominant on the taking it to the ground, dominant on the ground, immovable. I didn't see this coming at all in general. You know what I mean? Like, it just, you go back to the tail, was it the Santos fight? Like, it was very close. Some people at the time thought Santos won. It just felt like Shevchenko was going to be on the way out. She ends up losing a fight to Grasso. And from that point on, she's just like back, but back in a more dominant way, like more emphatic. I don't know what she's doing, but it's very impressive. I guess it's unprecedented, really, for the women's ranks. Like, for somebody to be that good and to show up in this form tonight at 37 years old, it's really crazy to watch, man.
Yeah, that Santos fight, the big thing was like, oh wow, she won a round. Did she win more than a round? She wins via split decision, and then the next one is the Grasso submission loss, and then the next one was the draw to Grasso. Even though I think she actually won the draw fight, but you started to feel like, you know, okay, she's slowing down, she's beatable. There are people catching up to her. And then she responds with the very dominant Grasso win at the Sphere, the Fiorot fight in Montreal in May, and then this one. And you're like, holy shit, we're back to the, you know, I don't know, 2017, 2018 days where the gap between her and everyone else at 125 is just gigantic. I think that Natalia Silva is next. They had her in the front row. They spotlighted her. She's won, I believe it's 13 in a row. She's undefeated in the UFC. 125 is a really interesting division, but you know, because it's Valentina at the top of the weight class, a lot of the fighters at the top of the weight class she has already beaten. There's Manon Fiorot out there. Silva's number 2. Grasso's number 3. Blanchfield got a win tonight against Tracy Cortez, so she's moving up the ladder. Barber, you know, her status is still up in the air. And then there's Rose and Jasmine. It has to be Natalia Silva, in my opinion. The question, though, is, and it was really interesting in the post-fight interview, Joe Rogan seemed to have asked Zhang Weili multiple times in different ways, are you going to move down to 115? And I feel like that's a no-brainer, right? I mean, she has to move down to 115 at this point. And if you're and John Anik had a good line, like, you know, somewhere Mackenzie Dern is just wondering, like, what's the answer to that question? It's got to be Zhang Weili.
It didn't feel like good news for that division.
Yeah.
Whatever happened there today.
But I kind of feel like it's the best case scenario for the UFC, right? Zhang goes back to where she's most dominant. Valentina does her thing. We got a fun little super fight. We answered this question, and now everyone goes back to their quarters.
Yeah, back to waiting for age to diminish Valentina Shevchenko somehow, that someone might be able to beat her. Like that's what we're looking at here. Like, I feel like the same about Islam as I feel about Shevchenko. I'm just like, I don't know who's gonna beat her. I can't look up and down any of these contenders and think, yeah, she's definitely gonna have an issue with them. That's a situation.
Someone's gonna have to catch her like Grasso did.
Yeah. And look, Silva's great on the ground too, but it's just, she seems, I don't know, she just seems like she's in like fixed holes in our games in that regard too. At this age,
I keep waiting for
nonstop.
Blanchfield, you know, like you think Blanchfield you know, how dominant she had been. And even in this fight, like obviously she gets it done, but she doesn't always look very comfortable in how she's getting it done. And then you think,
Lost the
well, how
first
would she
round.
look? Yeah, exactly. So then you think, well, how would that go up against, you know, and it doesn't feel like she'd be ready for that. So you're right. I mean, it's more of like, well, just we might as well do the meritocracy, and yeah, like you said, let the clock do its thing, right? And put Natalia Silva in that shot there. But as far as Weili, man, that's like it's a no brainer because you got to be you want to stay where the title is, right? That's where the money is. You want to stay where you're going to be in that talk. Right now, she would have no business until Shevchenko's gone. For her to stay in this weight class makes no sense.
There's some odds floating around right now. Zhang Weili minus 450, Mackenzie Dern plus 350.
That's about right.
So she
Enjoy that belt.
I think I think it would be a great fight. I mean, way better.
Got lots
I
of
don't even
pictures
know.
with it.
I don't even know who Mackenzie would fight in her first title defense if it's not Zhang Weili. Like if Zhang would have won and
It's not what I
you know,
fight now.
stayed at 125. So this definitely injects some life into the 115-pound weight class. Let's talk about some of the other results on this card and give some other people their props as well. As I said, Benoit Saint Denis with the 16-second knockout of Beneil Dariush in the first round. Vicious stuff. Actually, Dariush seemed to have, you know, stumbled Benoit with a leg kick that kind of dropped him, and then he got right back up and just obliterated Dariush with a shot like, you know, right above the ear, and then another shot as he face planted. Dariush seemed to have complained a little bit, but it was 100% the right call. Prior to that, we had Bo Nickal landing a head kick knockout in the third round against Adolfo Vieira, a shocking and scary knockout. Vieira was completely out for a couple of minutes, then had to sit on the stool like he was out. And this was Bo Nickal, who, of course, was coming off that loss to RDR, people doubting him, saying he got fraud checked, all this stuff. And even the crowd at one point booing him. And then he responds with the head kick knockout. He flips off the crowd. He says, "Make up your mind. Do you love me? Do you hate me?" I'm like, "Oh no, Bo, don't do this. Don't do this. You were handling it so well." But you know, he kind of, I think he let his guard down and finally admitted that the booze and the criticism was bothering him. He's very human. Great to see him back on top, and I think that was a really impressive and much-needed win for him. Gregory Rodriguez with the unanimous decision win over Roman Kopylov. Aaron Blanchfield, as we said, with the rear naked choke win over Tracy Cortez, so she avenges an earlier loss in her career to Tracy Cortez. Big win for her. Wow. I mean, this feels like it happened 10 days ago, but there's a young man named Ethan Ewing who took a fight on 48 hours notice against Malcolm Wellmaker, who had all the momentum in the world, who was, you know, seemingly the UFC Rookie of the Year with the 2 wins earlier this year, right hooks, the Contender Series win as well, and he's supposed to fight Cody Haddon, and Haddon gets hurt, and in comes Ethan Ewing, of all people, relatively unknown. The only person on the planet that knows Ethan Ewing is probably Kaposa and Uriah Faber, because Uriah Faber had him fighting for his A1 Combat promotion 7 days ago. He won the title in that promotion. He gets the call and he beats Malcolm Wellmaker. I mean, it just seemed like everything was lining up for Wellmaker to become a superstar on this card, on this stage, and Ethan Ewing beats him via unanimous decision. Just unbelievable stuff. We'll get back to him in a moment. Kyle Dawkins with the first round submission win over Gerald Mershard, a Darce choke. Great stuff. Talking about his wife, you know, about to give birth, and he has a great story as well. Pat Sabatini beat Chepe Mariscal via unanimous decision. Fatima Klein beat Angela Hill via unanimous decision. Baisangur Susurkayev won via right hook in the third round against Eric Mokhniko, and Mateus Camilo beat Vyacheslav Borchev via unanimous decision to start the night, the curtain jerker. Okay, we could go back. What do you think, Chuck? Who do we want to talk about here? We want to talk about BSD? What a comeback for him, right?
That was impressive stuff. And if I'm what I mean, you look at the guy like I think that we all thought he could do this, right? Like this was what he was capable of. He goes in there, he's a monster. I think that I remember Pizzi. Ariel, I don't remember if we were talking with you or if it was just Pizzi now, but we were talking about how we made him a lock back in the Poirier fight, and this is kind of the version that I think is the real one. You know what I mean? Like, but if I'm Dariush, I'm like, just try to get through the first round, right? Like you, it feels like the whole thing on him would be try to get through the first round. But that's vicious stuff. But man, you mentioned the Ewing kid. Who was it? I was, watching that fight. Do you remember? Like, I think it was Charlie Brenneman. It might have been his very first one where he fought
Charlie
Rick Story.
Yeah.
Like he fought like Rick Story, kind of in a weird situation. This is kind of what it reminded me of, because it was like this was a guy that nobody really thought about. They didn't really, who is this guy? And he shows up and he does work against somebody that and there's some kind of spotlight on and gets it done. And then suddenly, for a little victory lap there, we're talking about Brenneman, right? Like you're talking about this guy for a while. He didn't end up having like a great UFC career, but I love it when dudes do this. I was one of these guys who really believed in Wilming. Like he's a young guy, he's going to bounce back and all this, but
We all did.
I really thought he was going to buzzsaw through this guy, right? So this is, if you're going to make a splash, 48 hours, you show up and you put on that kind of fight. I thought that was amazing, man.
It was unbelievable. Everyone got their little funny jokes about a Ewing winning at MSG, a championship, this and that. I mean, just real like
That you didn't
bottom.
you weren't bothered by that, were you, Ariel? No.
I was very bothered by it. I mean, just like bottom of the barrel shit, if you ask me. But I mean,
Jesus Christ.
yeah, no shit. I mean, it's like have some respect. I mean, the guy like literally built that building, and it was
everyone stop
Yeah,
chatting
thank you, Frank.
shit.
Thank you, Frank. I appreciate that.
They should. They should.
Fucking crazy. I mean, people who know nothing, like who like guys, tell me you don't know ball without telling me you don't know ball. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's crazy.
Too late
By
for
the way,
this, Ariel.
by the way, I think it was Nate Marquardt that you were thinking about, Chuck.
Was it
Were you
Nate?
thinking about? Yeah, I think it was Nate.
Oh, he beat
a story against Nate. Is that who you're thinking of?
It was in Pittsburgh. I just remember that. And then there was
Oh,
somebody
yes.
stepped up.
That was
It's
that
like
was
a-
okay. Yes, that was Brenneman against Story in Pittsburgh. Yes, I was there. I was
Okay.
there. But he was
Yeah,
already
yeah,
in the UFC. He was already.
He was
you're
in
talking
the
about
UFC.
like
But I think
it
that
was-
it was like, because it was like a
Nate
weird
Marquardt
switch.
popped. Nate Marquardt
That's
popped
what it
at the
was. It was a
weigh-ins,
weird
and then he
switch,
came
but
in
nobody
and
was
missed
talking
it.
about Brenneman. Anyway, it just had these vibes of like, wait, I guess we should pay attention to this dude since he got thrown in
Yes,
this fight.
yes,
And he
yes.
ends up doing work. And you're like,
That's
wow, who is
unbelievable.
this guy? So it felt like it was like the sudden spotlight switch to the other guy.
Incredibly entertaining fight. My God. And just to watch the momentum switching it. And Wellmaker, like I don't think he's going anywhere. He is such a good fighter. You can clearly see that he is. It's just that he has been in situations where he's knocking everybody out cold so early, and he gets about midway in the second round, and that beautiful right hand he throws isn't working, and you can just suddenly see it switch. And this dude Ewing is like a dog with a bone. He's coming off a KO win, I think last week. He took this fight. Unbelievable. What a story. MSG debut. It doesn't get much better than that. It's fantastic.
Oh.
I don't think we've heard the last of Wellmaker, though.
Yeah. By the way, I would love to have seen him get a bonus. I know we get all caught up in the bonus nonsense, but
Sure.
that was just a really fun fight. That was a really fun fight. I didn't see.
They did that
But
at
he
featherweight,
mannerly
right?
asked for it. He mannerly asked for it. It wasn't too much. It wasn't quite, he didn't go too
Yeah,
far.
I didn't see
thought
if
he
they
would've
gave a fight of the night bonus. Maybe someone else saw that, but I didn't see if they gave one. I think I just saw the performance bonuses, but that probably was one of the more fun fights of the night.
You give
Man, what
Wellmaker like you give him like a mulligan here, right? Because they
Yeah.
did contest it at was it featherweight or did they do it in bantamweight? I'm like blanking on it now. Did they end up doing it
No,
at featherweight?
featherweight, yeah.
So I mean, there's like
That
little
switches it up
asterisks
a
you can
lot,
place on
yeah.
this thing, just
Yeah.
given the
He
nature
weighed in
of
at
it. but-
143. Like, he just kind of
Yeah.
had to like waltz right in there. There were a couple things I was talking to him about this. And who knows? I'm totally just reaching here, but he was on the show and he has a young baby and he was so excited to be in New York, and I was surprised that he was staying in the same room, in the same hotel room as his 5-month-old, and I was like, man, like
That's tough.
that's tough. That's tough. And I was
It's tough.
saying to the guys afterwards, yeah, thank you, Connor. I was saying to the guys afterwards, like, if I was his manager, I'd get him a separate room just for like, the last few days before the fight. And so who knows? All of this is very new. This guy has such an unbelievable story. Like, if you are selling stock in Malcolm Wellmaker now, you're making a huge mistake. I mean, we've seen guys stumble and come right. I mean, look at freaking Islam Makhachev, got knocked out.
Yeah.
Davi Ramos of all people. I mean, it's unbelievable. And that's an
Marab
inside
lost
joke.
early on too, and like
Yeah, twice. Yeah, and it was actually Adriano Martins, but I think only Connor gets it when I make that inside joke. Anyway, the people stumble. This guy came in incredible, momentum. It's just an unbelievable story. I was blown away by the Bo Nickal head kick knockout. I mean, we've seen people, we've seen him knock people out with his hands, but never quite like that. And it was just what he needed, right, PT? Like everyone was shitting on him, the booze, decision, the RDR fight, and then he shuts everyone up in a second with that kick. Amazing stuff from Bo, in my opinion.
Yeah, and look, we saw, I think it was a left-hand knockout that he had before he came into the UFC. It was one of those big calling cards for Contender Series. Again, as you were saying, it's a different knockout. Kind of reminds you of a flip of what we're talking about with Valentina. You expect this guy to wrestle everybody, and towards the end of that fight, and I know that Rodolfo's not really a guy who celebrated for his striking ability, and he was I thought very, very kind of tired towards the end, but Bo looked incredible. He absolutely tuned him up. It's exactly what he needed. And, he seems like a guy, as we often said before he was even in the UFC, he seemed like a guy primed for the spotlight. And I think you just saw a lot of emotion come out of him tonight. But I find that endearing. Flip off the crowd a bit more. You know what I mean? I love that shit.
He was emotional, but at the same time, he was as poised as you get, right? Like, because he went out there in a situation where, he's going against a stylistic, guy who has a very good discipline. Like, he could easily embarrass him, but he went out there and he handled his business. And the way he basically said, like, I've lost before and I've always bounced back. Like, there's something, like, I love when these dudes talk like this, because you're like, there's something about that kind of faith put into action that really translates. And this is why you believe in these guys, right? Because you see them in a big stage like that deliver in such a poised way, like come through in that kind of way. I didn't blame him at all for like kind of messing with the crowd or whatever, but that's kind of the subtext of it, is like, look at this guy's response and like how he believes in himself and how he communicates that. That's always the stuff with him that I'm fascinated with.
Oh yeah. By the way, Dana White, finally, I was wondering if he was going to talk to the media, because it's been almost an hour since this card wrapped up. He is talking to the media now. Some items of note, sort of non-committal about Islam's next move, saying it depends on what he wants to do, whether he stays at 170 or not. I can't imagine he doesn't stay at 170. He said that the White House card will not be America versus the world. It'll just be the best possible card that they could put together. He said that he thought Weili would do much better against Shevchenko, and that this is why they have weight classes. He was thinking of that. He says that he was very high on Prates and Ewing, taking advantage of those opportunities. And he says that Morales is 19-0 and cool as hell. He checks all of the boxes. By the way, speaking of Morales, you'll recall, guys, back at the press conference on Thursday, a reporter asked him if Brady versus Morales was for the #1 contender slot, and he responded with the same sort of nonchalance that you would respond if you were at a bar and a bartender was like, "Want another round of beers?" He's like, "Sure." Why not? It was amazing. I was like, wow, these guys' like hopes and dreams rest on these decisions. And he's like, yeah. So I didn't really take that as like, I didn't take that as like signed, sealed, and delivered. But maybe Morales is like, hey, you told us.
Got on tape, mate.
Yeah, right there. It's right there. Any other performance that we want to talk about here? I know you guys were really high on the Pat Sabatini fight. There was a lot of talk about Chepe Mariscal on Fight Feast.
There's something else though, right? Are we going to talk about a bit of an incident that occurred on the night?
Oh, right. Okay.
Talk about
this.
Son of a bitch, was my final thought.
Oh, no.
That's okay.
Well,
that's okay.
You guys are referring to the choice of having Max Kellerman do the intro to Creed, Take Me Higher, right? What is it? 2001 all over again?
Comparing the fighters to the buildings, that was...
Can you take me higher? It's beautiful.
Oh my God. What do you call him? Islam Makhachev? What was that? Did they do it all in one take? Did no one like say, you're actually... No, that was like... I mean, I feel like it was like someone watching an old WWE intro video and being like, yes, go with this one. This is amazing. And could we get Max Kellerman, who was actually let go from ESPN, back on ESPN because he's Mr. TKO now, voice this and give us the rub. and compare it to Canelo Crawford too, just to tie it all together. That would be perfect. That would be great. What would you say? I can't wait for the next TKO like investor call, and Mark Shapiro is going to be like, so yeah, you see, this is corporate synergy. We had Max Kellerman call Canelo Crawford,
Oh,
then he
man.
showed up on the ESPN broadcast, and then we had Cody Rhodes show up, and it's just all feeding each other. It's one big funnel. It's great stuff. No, you guys were, of course, I would imagine referring to the brawl at the beginning of the pay-per-view broadcast. Is that what you're referring to, PT?
Yes, that's the one I'm
Who's the
talking to.
Jack?
Yeah, I mean,
Who's the Jack? Yes.
I mean, so many personalities involved in these ugly scenes that we're seeing, but
Tell
you
us,
know,
tell us what happened.
well, it looks like Dylan Dennis got caved in, didn't it, by John Pork or Machenko, who we've
Pork.
learned about this week. Chanko is where the man's from. Zoinikov, I believe his name is Magomed Zoinikov, undefeated prospect, has won on Contender Series. A video comes out of Islam introducing his team, and he says, "Here's my friend Chanko." But as far as everyone can hear, he says John Pork. John Pork is the internet meme. We showed you the picture on the Crack on Friday of what John Pork is, but there's John Pork filling in Dennis from behind, it seems. And there's images on the internet of Dennis being taken away by the police and Chanko being taken away by police. And you got to wonder where this would put Dennis in terms of his UFC aspirations, given that a couple of times in big old spots, obviously the Habib McGregor fight back in the day, and now this, where that will put him in terms of getting in. I don't imagine the UFC are too fond of that kind of thing, but they do love to sell a fight. And if you're about to pitch Chanko v Dylan Dennis to UFC and MMA fans, I'd say they'd lap it right up.
Well, here's the thing. When I saw that he was at the event, the first thing I saw was him and George St. Pierre of all people, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
my understanding was Dylan wasn't allowed to go to UFC events." So I was like, "All right, good for him. I'm happy. I know he's dying to be in the UFC. Okay, maybe this is a nice step towards that." Literally 15 minutes later, you're looking at the broadcast, the Open, and Anik is doing his best job of like keeping the train rolling along, and DC and Joe are completely ignoring you. You'd have to think a producer was in their ear being like, "Guys, please look at the camera. Like, forget about that right now. You're on TV." And then within seconds, every single person is posting online. I'm getting sent all these different angles and stuff like that, and it's very clearly, Dylan and multiple members of Team Khabib, Team Islam, people that are recognizable getting into a brawl. And here's the thing, like, we still don't quite know. I reached out to some people about how it popped off. It seemed like they saw Dylan and something happened, and obviously you saw the result of it all. But this dates back to Conor and Khabib circa 2018, and since then, I mean, Dylan has posted so much online about these guys, and so you would have to think like these aren't the type of guys to be like, "Oh, haha," let it roll off your back type of thing. Like, they will see you and they will do something about it, and so very volatile. And you saw Hunter Campbell there, PT, and I don't think that the UFC wants to be in business with Dylan, to be honest. I think they think he's too much of a troublemaker, and I think this kind of just seals it. Like, he's just too much of a liability for them, and I feel like you could see the anger on his face. This is Madison Square Garden. They don't want to get embarrassed. There's police involved and stuff like that. There's celebrities there and all that. I can't imagine Hunter and Dana being like, "You know what? We need to capitalize on this. We need to sign this Misfits MMA champion and put him up there against this guy." Because this John Pork character has become like a fan favorite. He's getting a massive ovation. I don't think they go that route, Chuck. Do you disagree? Do you think they actually signed Dylan now? I can't see it happen.
I was more thinking like that they're just going to ban Dylan Dennis from ever showing up in
That's
that
what.
event
Yeah,
again. I mean,
there's a greater chance of that. There's a greater chance.
Well, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Joe.
no, that's it. It's crazy that you've had now two of the biggest, I guess like, all kind of all out brawls. I mean, it wasn't too bad. Like, I saw it a couple of different angles. It wasn't too bad, but they're both kind of involving the same guy, right? Like, at some point you're like, I'd really rather not have him there, much less be in the UFC.
Yeah, and it is like it does appear from the videos that we're seeing that Dylan is the one that's the victim in all this, right? Like, he's the one that's getting hit, like in most of the videos you see. But the problem is, like, he's been in so many of these incidents like it kind of desensitizes you, right? Like if this is someone else and they're in this situation, you usually don't see them in it. Like you'd be like, oh well, shit. Like you might feel about it differently, but it's because Dylan, this happens so often that it kind of is like you feel slightly desensitized to it. And maybe that's wrong, but that's just the reality of the situation. And to your point, it did even seem like Dylan's surrounded by security guards, there's police officers there, and you could see Hunter walking past, like, what the fuck is going on here, man? You know, like he
Well,
is just like, I can't believe this, you know?
Well, as fate would have it, Dana was asked about the incident
Okay.
just a few minutes ago at the press conference. This is a summary courtesy of Aaron Bronstetter of Sportsnet, who is there, and he says White says that he blames himself for the brawl that occurred in the crowd. He says that security told him in advance that Dylan Dennis was moving his way through the fighter seats, and that Jorge Masvidal told security that he was going to go after them. White said that they should keep an eye on him, and then realized that all of Islam's team were going to go after him. He says that Dennis will not attend any future UFC events, and they were asked if they wanted to press charges against him, which they declined the option to do. I can't imagine why they would press charges against him, but yeah, he's fucked.
Dylan, what,
Crazy,
like,
man.
so obviously they see him as the instigator of this situation. If they're saying Dylan would,
I think
Dylan would have
I,
charges.
yeah, and I don't know why the charges. I mean, he's summarizing. Who knows what the questions were? But
Yeah.
my feeling is Dylan's not one of their guys. They don't particularly like him, and they feel like his presence led to all of this. And the UFC is now, it's big business. They can't be having
Yeah.
brawls in the crowd. Like this is crazy. You can't be having brawls in the crowd. And so, who ultimately knows? I'm not blaming Dylan for this, but I can like it's very easy to foresee them just being like, enough of this guy. Like
Yeah.
you've now incited multiple brawls at our events. We can't have you here. And he really wanted to go in the Ultimate Fighter. Like he wanted to do anything to get in the UFC, and for whatever reason they weren't interested. And I can't imagine this makes him more attractive to them.
Let's hope Connor's not on a plane again. You know, that's what we need to
Oh,
worry about here. Remember this happened to Artem?
Yeah.
Stop all the planes in Dublin
I don't
Airport.
think,
We can't
I
let this
think we're
happen.
safe. I don't think he's on a
Okay.
plane right now.
Just making sure. Please stop. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm reading other quotes. He says you will never see Dylan Dennis at a UFC fight ever again.
Okay.
He said the entire Muslim Brotherhood was here tonight in the first 5 rows for Islam. You will never see Dylan Dennis at a UFC fight ever again. Okay.
Bad night to get going for Dylan. By the sounds of it, what did he say? The whole Muslim Brotherhood was there in the front row.
I'm reading like these tweets that are kind of
Snippets,
summarizing it.
right,
Here's it didn't even cross my mind that the entire so like fuck guys, if you're gonna recap the get the whole damn quote. They'll just get like a sentence in there, for fuck's sake. It didn't even cross my mind that the entire Muslim Brotherhood was here tonight to watch Islam. As soon as it broke out, I went, fuck, I know exactly what that is. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Thank you, Spinning Back Fist. Appreciate that. Dana White on what he told Ethan Ewing at the weigh-ins. Much respect. What an incredible opportunity for you. No matter what happens tomorrow night, I'm going to be sending you something in the mail. All right, so he's going to be getting something there. Well done. And
What do you think it is?
He deserves it.
What do you think he's sending him? A cake?
maybe no, like
Who's to check?
edible arrangement.
Edible
Yeah,
arrangement
like a
would be
fruit
nice.
bowl.
Yeah.
That'd be thoughtful.
Thank you.
So yeah, who knows? I would love to know like who actually incited it, but ultimately, like, what are they going to do? Ban all those dudes or ban?
They have to
Dylan
protect the
Dennis?
new poster boy, John
Yeah.
Pork. Of course, they're not going to let
Yeah.
him. They're not going to throw him on the bus.
Yeah.
I like how
Pork's the
he's
man.
kind of the star of the show in the end. Like we're talking about
It's
John Pork.
unbelievable, dude.
By the way,
You know,
I said this to Pizzi. Wait, are you talking about Dennis or John Pork?
We're talking about John Pork, of course.
Oh yeah,
He's the
I said
man
this
on
to
everyone's
Pizzi.
mind.
I said this to Pizzi when it happened. I was like, as if this guy wasn't a big enough baby face already. You
Can't put a foot wrong, this guy.
You just see him like wailing. I'm like, oh.
Funny,
And then
man.
what
A
were those
generational
shoes?
run.
What were those shoes that Dylan was wearing? He was wearing
Super
these
Mario
like, big,
shoes or something? What the fuck were they, man?
they were just like flailing in the like you saw them like the barricade and you just see the red shoes. It was
like the slipper versions of like cons of Chuck Taylors or something. Do you know when you get them oversized slippers?
I'm not trying to make light of it. Dylan and I, we made up. We're friends now.
Pizza was like, he's not instigating. That seems like instigating just by itself,
Yeah.
Wearing the shoes. Fuck this.
Oh my dear. We'll wrap things up with this tweet from Ian Machado Gary. He says, and he's 7 days away from making that walk, I want to see Morales versus Prates, #1 contender, and Leon retire. By the way, shout out to Ian. He did say that Prates would
he did call it, yeah.
Would starch Leon.
Does that mean he's correct about his forecast for the Bilal fight? That he's going to finish him and anything else is unacceptable?
Let me tell you something. If he does...
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
He's 100% in the mix. Gentlemen, what a day. The day started earlier today. Well, yesterday, actually. The day started earlier today, actually yesterday, with a ho-hummer at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Well, it was great if you're a Conor Benn fan, but it just wasn't quite. What's a sequel to a movie that just doesn't even come close to the original? You know, like what's
sequels? Yeah.
Godfather 2 is that viewed as
Godfather 2 is brilliant. It's fantastic.
Oh shit!
That's
Which
not a
one?
good one.
We're the cinephiles when we need them.
Men in Black 2.
Men in Black 2.
Frank just said the second Avatar. I don't know if anyone saw the first.
The blue people?
I did.
The blue people.
Peeps.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Anyway,
Never
point
saw
being,
3D glasses.
it didn't quite live up to the hype. Everyone was going gaga over the 50 Cent thing, but he was like kind of lip singing and he was like saying like one word every like fifth sentence. I don't know. It was weird. It was a little clunky. It was a great scene.
That was
Conor
the best
Benn
part
won.
of the fight.
Yeah, it was a nice little surprise, but I thought the entrance in April was way better. Brilliant win for Conor. Brilliant performance. Chris Eubank, lethargic, lifeless. Not great stuff out of him. We'll talk more about that on Monday. And then it transitioned into this card, which was phenomenal. It was the best card of the year on paper, in my opinion, and it definitely delivered. Despite the fact that the main event and co-main weren't exactly the most exciting. You got to see pure brilliance, dominance. You got to see athletic prowess at its very best. Where else would you rather be than right here, right now? Chuck, any final thoughts before we go, or do we steal your final thought?
No, but like the 31 minutes of custody, like between the two co-main and the main, that's basically what it came down to, right? Like 31 minutes of control time. I mean, that to me, that's its own transcendence. If you have champions that are that good, you got to somehow appreciate that too, right?
I got to be honest. When you said custody, I thought there was going to be like a Dylan Dennis joke in there. I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it. I thought you were.
I'm rusty on my final thoughts. But I did enjoy seeing your boy Action Bronson sitting there with the Cheeto Vera tonight. That was kind of cool.
First fight of the night.
Time.
Yeah.
The guy in the fight feast video, right?
He was wearing glasses on his head and also glasses on his hat too.
You can do that shit when you're Action Bronson. We can't do that shit. He can. You know what I mean?
He can't. And Cheeto again just like has a habit of looking completely different every time he's on camera.
Every time.
Like completely
so
different
weird.
human being.
He's like a very handsome Mr. Potato Head. Like he just keeps changing like facial hair and you know what I mean?
The mustache on his forehead.
Gonna go for hair today and no mustache.
Great stuff. Great stuff. All right, gents, it's time to go to bed, or it's time to have breakfast if you're Pizzy. Good luck in your football.
Cheers,
later.
Man. I'll see you on Tuesday, yeah? Cheers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Guys, everyone. PT wants you to let you know that he's off on Mondays when it's a pay-per-view. He sleeps for the next 48 hours.
Oh.
So
he needs to rest up. So
it's 36 hours.
Heart.
Because
who's to check, right? Who's to check? Oh, Frank is definitely sleeping because if you say who's
said it twice, what am I?
Come on,
who's
give it to
check?
us, Frank. Yeah.
Who's to check?
There it is. Congratulations, Islam Makhachev. Shout out to him, the new champion. By the way, is he a double champ? Like, they take the belt away, but then they bring the belt back. It's all very confusing. Yeah. The photo op.
all over the fucking place.
It's all over the gaff. He's the welterweight champion. We'll see what's next for him. Valentina and still We've got a new star in Michael Morales. We've got the re-emergence of an old star who was once a new star in Carlos Prates. BSD, the god of war. Holy smokes. What a freaking shot that was, and what a comeback for him. Not that long ago, he was losing 2 in a row, and people were writing him off around this time last year. Bo Nickal as well. What a great night. It's always special when it's at the world's most famous arena, and it's always special when 3PAC is recapping a pay-per-view. One more left in 2025, my friends. That comes up on December 6th. We'll be with you for that one. But for now, we say goodnight for Pizzi, for Chuck, for GC and Rick, who did a phenomenal job, as always, with the watch party, for the entire crew back in New York City in the control room, Director Andy, Mysterious Frank, Josh, Dan, Jordan, we love you. Good night. We'll talk to you on Monday.